Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste everyone. Namaste speakers. We are already at the end of our lecture series this year, and today we have a very interesting topic, which is AI and art, and especially its future going together. Before I introduce the speakers, I'm going to start with a story, firsthand. So, a few years back, when my son was doing his bachelor's in computer science, one day we were just discussing generally. I was curious about his field, and then he was just kind of filling me in on AI. And then the conversation automatically kind of shifted towards AI and dance. So then he said very enthusiastically that AI takes commands and then it can, answer your questions, even on art. Before that, I knew that AI can do random things and in like inexplicably short time than a human. But that day, first I asked AI what was the theka of Rupak and how many matras and everything. But it was able to answer that correctly. So then we asked AI to build a tihai in Rupak. And the answer came up in no time. The tihai was mathematically correct, meaning it fit that 7-beat cycle and landed on the sum. Or I should say it had the potential to land on the sum. But it was miserable in terms of aesthetics. I mean, nowhere close. So I commented, I said, this is horrible. And then my son said, oh no, you can teach it, we can actually teach AI to make a better tihai. And my instant reaction was like, that is exactly what I don't want to do. Without thinking much, that's what I came up with. I don't want AI to learn to make an aesthetically rich tihai, because that is our job. Jokes apart, now in that time onwards and until now, there are more and more occurrences of using AI in day-to-day life. Like just as our experts here, some of you must also be using AI or maybe working in that field. But for a person like me, or some of you who are not techies, this is a wonderland, So again, a discussion that we had in class one day that led to this roundtable. And I'm so glad that I am going to know more about it and get some myths busted and create some knowledge about it. And I'm so glad that you are also there on this journey. I said yesterday that some lectures in the series are for students because I want you to gain knowledge out of it, but some lectures are for myself because I want to know more about it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce today's speakers who are all SISK students. We have Medha Bhadkamkar. Round of applause, please. We have Samruddhi Kulkarni and Priya Subramanian. And now I'll request the speakers themselves to introduce them more, so we will get an idea about their work profile.
I'm one of the newest students, so not a senior student. However I may look and how many ever years of experience I quote. So over 20 years of experience doing AI, when it was not called AI. The buzzwords that you hear in the market today, quite young then, thankfully then. It was so much more fun. We didn't use the words that you guys are hearing today, multimodal or any of that. And now I work at HCL Tech, data and AI principal. What that means is you're the primary overarching technical go-to and I want tech domain. That's because I'm based in the Valley. So the customers I work with are Microsoft, Google, ExxonMobil, you name it, most of the enterprises. But Thai is my favorite customer so far, who's been asking questions since this week, and I've done some really fun work because of Thai this week.
Hi, I'm Samruddhi. I started learning Kathak. Let's talk about that first, and then I can talk about my work, of course. I started learning Kathak, from Guru Manisha Tai Sathe since the age of 7. So, like everyone else who's kind of learning under Thai's lineage or Manisha Thai's lineage, is just you watching them, learning from them, listening to them. So I pretty much grew up doing that. So not just learning Kathak, but learning to be a better human being, a good person, is also something I learned. Then I had a little bit of a gap in between, while I was doing my undergrad because of an ankle injury, and then I came for my master's here, to master's in electrical and computer engineering at Georgia Tech, which is in the East Coast. Then got my first job and moved to the Bay Area. Then when I moved to the Bay Area, it was a no-brainer because Thai's here. So I had to restart my education again, under Thai's guidance. And I think I'm in the advanced diploma class, or Upanta Visharad class. So that's me. Oh, right. Sorry. So sorry. I forgot to say what do I do. Sorry about that. I am a machine learning engineer at Apple. Very new in this tech or AI field. Been working in tech for about 5 years. So I design touch algorithms for different Apple products. So that's iPad, pencil, watch, iPhone, anything you interact with your Apple products. So any Apple lovers, if you enjoy interacting with your phone, I'm doing a good job. so, so that's me.
All right, and I'm Medha. I've been at SISK for 5 years. So I'm the COVID baby, one of the COVID babies. Started right in like a couple of weeks before we shut down for COVID. But still, I feel like a beginner student. I think everybody feels that way. I've been in tech for a long time. I'm not going to say how long. I started out as an electrical engineer for my undergrad, and then I came here to do my PhD in computer science. And since then, I've been in data AI. And like Priya mentioned, we didn't call it AI at the time. It was just called smart systems or intelligent systems or something along those lines. AI is a buzzword that is now, pretty big. Everybody's talking about it now. Everybody's using it in their daily lives. So I worked as an individual contributor for a while, and then now I moved more into leadership roles. Right now I'm doing, I lead a team of data scientists. I work as VP of AI at a company called Sound Thinking.
That's very, very impressive how you are doing what you're doing, but also managing to nurture your love for dance. Before we move on to the questions, again, online participants, send your questions on SISK Students Group. And even for in-person attendees today, hold on to your questions till the end. So we will be able to maintain a flow. And then in the end, we will make sure that we'll have questions from the audience. So let's begin. So my first question is for Priya. And this is not hard and fast. I will direct a question to one of you, but please feel free to, step in and add. It's absolutely informal. So, Priya, this question is personally from me. How will you explain AI to a common man who knows what inexplicable wonders AI does, but has no clue how it does it? Also, AI is always paired with ML. So please tell me a bit more about ML and the role that it plays in AI. And lastly, you said that you've been working in AI for 20 years now. But as non-techies, as Medha said, the buzz is recent, right? I mean, before that, maybe AI was in picture, but it wasn't called that. That's what I'm inferring from what you just said. But you also mentioned in our discussion some research that you were a part of when you were at IIT Madras, and the fun that you had in the labs there doing your research. So please also walk us through it.
So I made notes. The reason I made notes is we talk about this every day at work, that we're not able to. Thai has gotten us thinking about how to, answer it easily. And if you can't answer something easily, apparently Einstein says you don't understand it well. The Thai has helped me understand AI/ML a little bit better this week. AI is the larger umbrella of smart systems. So you teach a system, you give it a rule book, you give it what we call as algorithms. You teach it and you say, hey, can you tell me, or let's say we want to teach a system to know what a tiger is, right? And you're going to teach the system saying, if it has stripes, then it's a tiger. Okay, and so you're giving a rule to the AI system, which is a smart system. Now, ML is a smaller category or a subset of AI where you train it with data. So you're not teaching the system, if it has stripes, it's a tiger. What you're going to do is give a bunch of tiger images, and then it's going to learn from it, and then it's going to say, after, say, 20,000 images, it will see another image of a tiger and say, yes, this is a tiger. It may still make mistakes. That's what you all hear about in the market, hallucination, because there may be a cat with a stripe on it. But that's what it is. ML, you feed the data, the ML system reads the patterns from the data, and it gives answers. It generates answers about what it is, or whatever you're asking, whatever inference you're asking. It's supposed to give it to you from pattern recognition. That's the difference between the AI, which is a larger umbrella, and ML, which is a subset. And for folks of you who are, because you're in the Valley, I'm sure we have AI experts in the audience. Please know that this is an answer that was, I printed it out for everybody. So that's what it is. And then we also hear a buzzword these days, generative AI, and it means you're creating new work. So you give a bunch of tiger images, it reads it, and then it says, okay, let me create a tiger image for you. And it may be an image that it's never seen before, but it's just created that for you based on everything that it has learned. And then, of course, one of the things about AI, ML, and generative AI systems is there are multiple layers of compute that is built in. A lot of the times they call it even black box. We don't know what the machine is doing, but it's giving you the answer regardless. That's the simplest way I can describe it, but I want to give it to Medha and Samruddhi so they can answer it better, maybe.
I think you've pretty much covered it with, and I think with an example, it's pretty helpful. I think we should.
Was really good.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But that said, what did we do at IIT? Actually, what I liked about what we did at IIT was we took.
And what year was this? Sorry, I don't want to draw any inferences.
The early 2000s. Very early 2000s, actually. 2002, 2004, those years. I had graduated with my master's, and I was at IIT under a prof. And what he was trying to do, what I liked about his work, was he was trying to bring technology to the masses, and it was low-cost enablement of internet, a low-cost enablement of PCs. So we would take all kinds of data, whether it was video, audio, to enable low-cost PCs and such technologies to the masses. You can look him up. He's done tons of work where he's enabled technology for the masses in India, enabled literacy in India. His name is Dr. Ashok Jhunjhunwal. He's a phenomenal professor from the IIT Madras. That's about it. How it has changed, Thai had that question as well. Let me tell you what has changed the last 20 plus years is data has grown. What we didn't have then was the volume of data and the variety of data, and compute was a lot more expensive, how you would churn the data, the cost of it, but that has reduced and data has grown, making it easier for us to personalize and use AI/ML every day. So I think that's the fun thing about it. Yeah. Any of you?
I don't think I actually have anything to add.
Well,
Yeah, I guess, I mean, she covered it pretty well, but one thing is that AI is not not new. The basis of it started as early as 1950s. It's just, yeah, so the first neural network was actually proposed in 1954. So it's not a new concept, but we just didn't have the technology, supporting technology to be able to, we were just not ready. So we didn't have the right data sets and we didn't have the right compute. Now we have GPUs, and that's why NVIDIA stock is growing up so quickly. But now we have all these GPUs to help us train on mass amounts of data. Like if you look at ChatGPT, I mean, it's trillions of data, right? The points that they train on. But now we have the capability to be able to do that. We just didn't have that before. But there were like these spikes in AI development, 1950s was a big spike and then it kind of died down. Then came back in 1980s. Then we had 1990s or later, which was mostly expert systems, which were rule-based systems. Then we went into ML. Even with ML, we had like this big, bumps. We had this big data craze where everybody was talking about big data. Hadoop became, this big deal. Maybe had this MapReduce. Then we realized, well, that's not enough. It takes only specific kinds of workloads. So now we need streaming and Spark and Scala. So that came up to be. And then we had deep learning. That was another big, jump in development for AI. And now we have generative AI, which to me also is a wonder because even I don't understand how it works. Nobody understands how it makes decisions today, which is scary and fascinating.
Yeah, it makes it so scary.
Because there are multiple layers of decision-making processes that are stacked on top of each other. And the end process, the end decision, what comes out, you never know what it's taking into account. So it's because artificial intelligence is basically intelligence. It's trying to mimic human intelligence. And we work on multiple layers as well. So what decision that I would make based on some parameters would be different than what Samruddhi would make or what you would make. So it's the same with AI models. That's why you don't get that same repetition. If you ask ChatGPT the same question over and over again, it's going to give you completely different answers because nobody knows how it comes.
So it has also almost become a person now.
It has developed a personality, but then we can get into that too. But again, it is as good as the data you give it. And so what you train it on is what it's going to do. So it is, yes, it'll have a personality, but it will be inherent, they'll have inherent biases in it based on what that biggest data set that you give it.
Interesting.
Just one thing I would like to add, probably because I come from a slightly different school of thought on this is, yes, it's trying to mimic human intelligence, but it's not trying to exactly do the same thing as human intelligence. So it's like an optimization problem where it's trying to get as close as possible to it. And as she said, as much as the data you feed it, as much as context you give to the question you ask or the information you provide, the closer it will get to what a human would think of it.
We just don't know what the possibilities are. We don't know the scale of
it. But don't we always fear the unknown?
Yes.
Okay. My next question is to you, Samruddhi. So for general knowledge, can you name a few fields of science where AI has done a great positive impact to human life, and maybe with a few examples?
Right.
So I start fearing this unknown a little less.
Oh, right. I think, like she said, AI has been here since forever. It's not like it's a new thing, and we don't realize how much we are, surrounded by tech or by the applications of AI. Even in everyday applications, like if you think about maps. Previously, we would use paper maps, or you just know navigation, or you just know where you want to go. But then came Apple Maps or Google Maps, and then it's not just about knowing where to go or having that route navigation, but also knowing what kind of if there are any hazards or any accident or anything happening on the way, or gas efficient or faster routes. So there's that too. Combine it with weather information and maybe cruise control or lane assist in your cars, which technically wasn't there before. It came with tech and involves AI. So put them all together, now travel has become safer. More everyday applications would be if you want to find some information. So if you want to shop, there's Amazon. If you want to download a movie, or you want to watch a movie or listen to some music, previously you would have to download things. Now it's just Netflix or Spotify or Apple Music. So things that you want or you think of, there's not a lot of process that goes into finding that. It's just at the click of button. Now thinking about not just everyday application, let's think about more impact for a public impact or applications. There'll be medicine, obviously. There's so much technological advances that have happened, CT, MRI, X-rays. And with AI, it has not just been constricted to that, but it's helped become an assistant for doctors. Not replace them, become an assistant where it's helping analyze that information. It's also grading the severity of the ailment or the disease that you have, and just making job easier for doctors without getting into their way, which is diagnosing a problem or treating that problem. Just getting rid of the menial work or the work that is going to take a lot of time. So these are, the things that will have more impact. Now, bring in AI for medicine, they take it a step further, which is personalized medicine. Now, in yesterday's lecture, we realized that it's not just one thing or one symptom you're trying to solve, but it's the whole of your body. And that's why you need alternative therapies like naturopathy, or not just allopathy is the solution to everything. You need to treat your whole body. You need to understand all the symptoms. So AI helps with that, because then there's personalized medicine, which will take into genetics, your body structure, your vitals, who you are as a whole person while treating something. And that was previously we were limited by that. Now there's more. I mean, I can go on on this for a while, but I think in context of more emerging fields where AI is not as commercialized, but it's in research. For instance, there is agriculture, there is crop rotations, crop monitoring was something that was done. It's not that it was not done, but AI is helping reduce the manual effort, the time, the effort put into figuring it out, while at the same time making it more accurate, more adaptable. And then there's performing arts or arts in general. Yes, there's a lot of things in research, whether it's with respect to sports or arts, and a lot of things are commercialized as well. So when I if you try to find a common theme between all these things, somewhere AI has advanced a lot, somewhere it's pretty new or in research, there's one common thing. It is trying to become an assistant, or it's trying to help reduce the manual labor, the effort, the repetitive, redundant tasks, while still keeping the things that require expert guidance, expert in those fields. So whether it's medicine, whether it's performing arts, keeping that human part of it intact. So it again, there can be different school of thoughts on this where, if you just give the whole thing to AI, they'll figure it out. Yeah, sure, there is the way to go about it. But that's where responsible AI also comes in, and maybe we can chat about it more as we go. Okay, anyone want to add
anything?
Oh, I was thinking about it, but Thai, you said you didn't want to be scared. So,
Let's just talk about applications now.
so even with applications, right? As with any technology, it's how you decide to use it. And I mean, for instance, those who are into Pixar movies and have watched Despicable Me and know Gru and how he used technology to do bad things and like play the villain. That's true even here. It's like, yes, this is this cool piece of technology. Are you going to do good with it or bad? Right? So, for instance, I worked at Los Alamos. For those who watched Oppenheimer, that's where the atomic bomb was created for US. And Los Alamos even today has the highest concentration of PhDs in the world. So there are almost 50,000 PhDs employed by the lab. There are a total of 80,000 people employed by the lab. Of them, 50,000 at least are PhDs. So it's a very cool, geeky place. And everybody's totally focused and passionate about the things that they're doing. But nobody knows how it fits into that big picture. So when I was there, I wasn't told who the client was that I was building something for and what it was going to be used for. I was told that I have to build something like this that would be useful, for instance, to predict weather or to ask certain queries when for the weather, and then you have to build this data management system that is, whatever. So I had a friend who worked in the biochemistry department, and she was very focused on this particular kind of, I think it was algae or fungus or something like that, and how it can be used and what are the toxic traits for that. So if you think about it, if you want to into conspiracy theories, yes, bioweapon. Or what I'm building, maybe simulate an atom bomb, right? So it's how you use that. And so even the scientists, to their credit, those who actually built the atom bomb, really were not aware. So there was the lab is in one area, and there's this bridge connecting the town, and that bridge is 150 feet off the, it's 150 feet high. And I was, somebody, and I said, well, that bridge is so cool. And the people were like, yeah, that's the bridge people jumped off of because they didn't like their technology being used for atom bombs. So it's how you use that, and that is important. And that's where responsible AI and all that comes into play. But there's always way to, do good things and bad things with what is it.
So I think I would be able to summarize what she was saying. All the fears is AI can be, there can be an analogy for it to be called a knife. You can cut vegetables with it, or you can stab somebody. So it's up to you, and that's where I think the whole education with respect to using AI should come in. We'll chat about it more. Yeah.
But that education is always limited, and people will have ulterior motives to, use it in bad ways. Because I grew up hearing the same argument about nuclear energy, right? I mean, back in the days, everybody was scared that they'll use nuclear energy to make nuclear weapons and not actually for good reasons. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you in principle that progress is always, it has two sides.
It's any technological advancement comes
Yeah,
with
this
it.
one positive.
How many of you feel like you actually have the full bandwidth, especially moms, to come for the dance class feeling let loose? I don't. I'm a mom of 2 kids. I have a teenager who's rising high freshman, and I have a younger one. So I was telling my teenager that I want to bring in a robot. There's a $120 robot that you can bring home and train. I want that robot to do kitchen work for me, fold clothes for me, so I can be here doing this because my day job just pays my bills. This is what I enjoy doing, and I've not even taken this up as a profession. I didn't take it up seriously. But that's what AI can do for you. There are some fun things I do with my daughters, and I'm sure there are some of you who can enjoy. There are so many apps that you can download. One of them that I've started enjoying recently is Merlin. How many of you know about that app? Yeah? It's a bird call app, especially here and wherever you travel. It's free, and it's from, I think Cambridge University, and it recognizes bird calls. So you just turn it on, and whatever bird is speaking at that time, it will tell you which bird it is. And there's another app that I like that all of you can install right now, especially because it's summer if you have vegetable gardens. A plant app, and I can circulate the name. These are things that AI helps us with in our everyday lives, because when you go to, when I go to, let's say, a plant store and I'm looking at it, if I want to know what it is, then I can actually, just take a picture of it, and it will tell you everything about the plant and what you need to do to keep it healthy. So there's so many good things that we want to do in our everyday life that AI can help you with. So just wanted to leave it at that.
No, definitely. Please circulate those names on the group because this is very interesting. So, Medha, over to you. And you are not just a dance student, but you are also a musician. So, you play harmonium, you play tabla. So, you're literally like, you are able to approach music and dance from so many various angles, right? And that kind of gives you a holistic outlook at music, which I always love. So I have a question for you from that perspective. I always think that if you are so close to music that it is a part of your day-to-day life, then you must have personal feelings about using AI in music or in performing arts. So can you share your thoughts about it? Maybe it could be either ways, like either for it or against it, whatever.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So for work, other things, I'm generally for AI because innovation, technology, you always want to be at the forefront. You want to learn what's new out there. Even with OpenAI, when it came out, I didn't know what to do with it. And initially, I did experiment something similar to what you said, Ty, earlier with the Rumpaktar. I asked it to create a Tihai, and at that time it couldn't. It made a really bad, it was really bad. I asked it to just teach me Dhamar and like the Khanda and what it is and all that. It messed that up as well. So it was just not ready at the time. So that said, I think AI can still be taught to learn certain patterns, and it usually, because it is based on data and because the way it operates today is based on patterns only, it can be taught to do things that have logical reasoning or some kind of mathematical framework. So if you're building a Tihai, for instance, you know what tal it is, you kind of know what how many syllables per beat you want to do, you know how Tihai repeats 3 times, you can give it like the number of, or the size of the pauses you want Vedam versus Damdar. And then have it build something for you, but will it be beautiful or not? And how would you determine that? And how are you going to train that? Are you going to train it on a Delhi Gharana or a Farrukhabad Gharana? Because those are very different compositions that you have for each of those Gharanas, right? So how would you do that? And today AI does not understand Bhav Ras, and the way it is built today, it cannot do that. Because like I said, it's all logic, it's all patterns. And that is very hard to teach because that is very subjective, and that varies from one person to another. Right? How a person expresses something, how a person feels that music, you know, what kind of expressions they decide to do, it's very different. Like we all saw the short video that Mayuri was in, and the little nuances that she did with her face, the little facial expressions, that is very specific to what she would do, to her, yeah. And somebody else would do it differently. So can you teach AI to learn that or teach you something like that? Or what would look beautiful for you? Like even when you're holding certain positions, like, you know, your thumb positions or something, your hand positions and where you put that would vary from one person to another, their height, their body type, how they use their space, how they're feeling that dance, right? To have AI teach you to do something like that, it is going to be very hard. So I think of AI that, based on where it is at today, it is a good learning tool. You can, you know, use it as a tool to like maybe learn some things that are logical, but then you do need somebody, a teacher. It cannot be like a teacher to tell you what looks good on you, what, you know, you would look good at it, to teach you that rasa, that power, that emotion, and how, you know, that you can get that out. Because AI can tell you what kind of music is going to give you goosebumps. That's like a very personal thing. So today AI is not there. At the rate it's moving, maybe someday, but I don't see in the near future that.
So it was a great example actually, the one that you gave, that is it going to be a composition from the Delhi Gharana of Tabla or Farrukhabad or Punjab? And I think it will take a lot of time until AI develops that kind of intelligence based on how poorly we are doing about generating data in the field of performing arts, because nobody cares. Also because there are more important fields on which AI has to focus, because they are more, I think, supplementary or helpful to human life, right? Humankind as such. So, I mean, let's see. Now I get it that AI cannot replace teachers, right? I mean, even when we were discussing the other day, everybody equivocally said that we need teachers, but AI will be a tool which will make things easier for teachers and students, right? But then I was just looking at the research paper. One of you had posted a link on our discussion group, and it had research from, I think, a young guy who taught AI various mudras, and then I forget the name. And then based on those data points, AI would be able to tell if a certain person has a proper posture, or if the mudras are done correctly or not, right? But I mean, this is impressive. But then, as a dancer, I know that even every gharana has a different type of application of mudras, even holding mudras, various degrees. Let's just take the Moolasthiti for example. And every gharana has a different degree at which the elbows drop or rise. And it's so specific. So it's very hard to generalize and teach AI to assess something like this. I get it. So Priya, next question is for you, and of course others can definitely pitch in. You have danced all your life, but you also taught dance, right? And I think that is why this question is to you. So, how do you think AI can be a tool that helps teachers teach better, or use AI as a TA, as a teaching assistant? Is that even a possibility going forward?
So when Tai came to, send the note out, can we talk about AI, as one of the summer series lecture? The only things I looked up on assisting artists or assisting teachers was in the areas of how you can market, how you can create a flyer without doing too much work, how you can drive sales. But for whatever reason, I cannot explain. Maybe there's a question for me down the road and I had an answer for it, so maybe that's the reason. I hadn't thought of AI replacing teachers even as a TA. I think I couldn't compute it. It didn't even occur to me. And then Tai asked, Priya, how can we do this with a posture? So I did some digging and told Tai that there is work happening in IIT Kharagpur, that if Tai wants, she can participate and get her in touch with it. So what they've done is, I don't know if it is a platform or an app, I'm yet to find out, but the students there, the academic research there is, they've taken Bharatnatyam, because all of you attended the Bharatnatyam thing on Monday. We have something called Adavis, just like all of you have your, the one, yeah, the Hastas. So they have taken each Adavu and they have broken it down into frames by taking that many data of the same Adavu. They've taken data of the human skeleton structure so that it has enough variety in different human skeleton structures there are. And then it has taken the data of the Adavu as part of a larger sequence. So, when you have a larger choreography or whatever. So it had to take all of this data to do a very controlled environment output. So it's not for the larger outlier and variety scenario that you're talking about. It's a very controlled testing where it has given about 99% accuracy. So there is accuracy that is guaranteed. It's just we need to generate that many more varieties of data in it. Now, in Bharatnatyam as well, just like how you have in Kathak, you have different styles. So I don't know which of these styles they had picked for these guys, because we have Kalakshetra style, and then we have, there are a few other styles as well. I don't want to go into that because that's not the question. But the question is, in here, given the very many gharanas that Tai spoke about, how much of a generalization that you can have? Maybe in your Tate Teta, you could have some level of generalization. So then that would be closer to correction, maybe, than your hand variety. Because even in, for example, the Kalakshetra style, which I don't know, they have, for example, the same Adava is slightly different from what I've learned. So mine is Pandananur Pani, that's what it's called, and it's very different. So will they be able to correct me? I'm not sure. It depends on the data that they've got. But this, if enough artists like Tai participate in these research that's happening in the academia at the moment, then maybe someday we could have something.
Before we involve the other speakers to answer the same question, I think for this, the artists basically need to be fearless.
Yes.
And confident about their position in teaching and learning, in spite of if AI is a part of it or not. That confidence will create an approach where artists are willing to participate in such research projects and contribute their
Let me give you an example. You called me for speaking today. You could have replaced me with ChatGPT. You know why? Because this white paper that I just quoted to you, the research paper, I got it from my team. I put it into ChatGPT and I said, summarize it for me so I can speak to an audience that is like this. And it did. So you could have very well used ChatGPT instead of me, right? But
But I did.
You didn't. That's what it is. Because you still want the human in the loop. I can't imagine a world where we cannot have, or we don't want to have, a human in the loop. I don't know how lonely that would be. But that's my perspective.
I think she pretty much summarized and hit some good points. I think I also kind of agree on that in the aspect that having the human in the loop is because it's only like, of course you want human in the loop for all the applications as possible, but it's especially important for performing arts, because performing arts or any dance form is technique plus emotion plus creativity. So the emotion and creativity can't be mimicked. We got so many examples now that cannot happen. So, but the technique can. So, and this entire process will only be better and better as much as the data you give it. So if you have more artists who, and I understand the hesitation is also from the fact that you don't know the implications, you don't know how much to predict what is going to get affected versus where am I going to be in this entire loop. So I can understand where the hesitation comes from, but that's where I think more AI oriented education for artists or experts in the field might be a way to go.
Yeah, sure. I always have something to. Yeah, so like Priya pointed out, it is getting that skeletal or building models on the skeletal form is something that is possible. So if you want to do like tatkar and make sure you're stomping the correct foot, or whether you have heel or not, those kinds of techniques, yes, AI can be really good at that. But even that has limitations. Because my company builds products for law enforcement, and we one of our products is to detect weapons, and we use visual models in addition to other. It's a multimodal model, which means we can have multiple kinds of inputs, not just video, but we have video, we have motion, we have different sensors and all these other things. But one of them is the video input. And so as people are walking in, we do look at their skeletal to see how they're walking, their gait and other things, to be able to detect a person, that this is a person. And sometimes it fails. For instance, if the carpet is dark and a person is wearing dark clothes, then it fails. If the lighting is not right, it fails. So even today, AI is not super advanced to be able to even do the technical parts of it. So there is still some room for it to improve. And then, like I mentioned earlier, in the last.
Interesting. From what I have understood, I can imagine various scenarios where AI is actually helping dance students, especially at a beginner level, to create that muscle memory that we always keep talking about. For example, if students are doing their tatkar at home, then AI might just point out that their feet are not at 45. Or when they are practicing chakkars, it might point out that their hands are dropping down or rising, whatever is the case. Or then AI might measure the speed at which they are doing chakkars back to back and tell them where they start losing it. So I can imagine various scenarios where AI can be actually a friend to a person who wants to do riyaz at home and is particular that they don't end up doing wrong riyaz. Because that is the concern of many beginner level students, especially from whatever they learn in class, they kind of take it back home and then try to retain it and do and practice it. But then there is always this hesitation in their mind whether they are actually doing it the way Tai wants it, or something else is happening. So I can visualize a peloton like a machine in like a mirror in front of which you're dancing, and that mirror on the wall is giving you a feedback in terms of if you're technically perfect or not. And I think, but again, I think every school will have to develop their own, their own version of it, because as we discussed, it's not like this is right, this is wrong, this is black, this is white. There is so much of gray area in art, and someone's right can be someone else's wrong, or vice versa. But I would like to imagine this, and I would like this to come in use maybe in near future. So Samruddhi, this question was more directed towards how AI can be a teaching tool, and I just stepped into the area where AI is helping the learners. In terms of other facets of learning, for example, I actually am throwing it at you. Like, can you think of other areas where AI is helping the learners do a better job, or providing knowledge, or making things easy, generally speaking, for a dance or music student?
So I am a dance student. So I think when I think about this, there's a lot of scenarios that come to my mind. Some, like I mentioned, having a mirror in front of you, and through video or through images, it's telling me what to do. But that technology is not there yet. So then when I want to think about, okay, what do I have right now? With access to ChatGPT or Apple Intelligence and those things. So the things that come to my mind first is Lay Abhyas or Theka Abhyas. In that, the Theka, like for instance, a lot of times when we are practicing in class and the Talmala is, we are practicing with Talmala, the one thing that I says a lot of times is, you're not listening to the Theka, you're just dancing as is. Or you're not listening to the lehra that's going with it. So okay, I'm in class, I have that feedback from Tai, because Tai is telling me, okay, you're doing this wrong, pay more attention to this khanda or this specific matra. But when I'm at home, how am I supposed to do it? So that is possible with a lot of tools right now at your disposal, as well as learning through these prompt systems, where like right now we're thinking about video. There are other ways of harnessing data, which is audio data, where it'll listen to what you are doing with your feet, and it has a talmala going already. So it'll listen and give live feedback that, okay, you are moving a little away, there's something amiss at matra char or khanda ek, or you need to learn how to correct yourself, because it's not just, okay, I'm doing it exactly the way I was taught. It's about, because it's a performing art, you can go a bit amiss here and there, so you should be able to correct yourself, and that's something you can train with AI. The other thing I thought of was Lay and Jati Abhyas. Understanding, okay, I learn a tal, I learn thamar, and I'm understanding how it's spread out, how the khanda jati is. But now, if I want to practice different lay in it, for instance, vilambit, madhya, ko, tigun, chogun, but also, like for advanced classes, I also mentioned you should be able to do it in sawa, fractional like kari. Now this Tai has taught us for one tal. We have to experiment by ourselves on our own time. But are we doing it right? Because we can't, because Tai has so many students, and even if I go and I ask her, Tai, am I doing it right? Of course, she'll help me. But I need to first be able to practice it by myself, and that feedback I could get from such technology. Another is consolidating literature. So there's just so much literature. It's not just Gharana-wise literature that we need to learn. It's learning how it came or how it developed across ages, what kind of impacts it had, how did it develop over the period of years, what are the different terminologies. It's not just about dance, but also the supporting elements in it. And I like when I started dancing, and when we used to have exams, we would read books and learn as much as you can by reading them. But there's only so much time, and more importantly, still you will not have all the information. So, what if I could have this prompt system where I just ask them that, can I understand the nuances of this particular, Paran? What does Paran mean, and why is it called Paran? Or what does Ganesh Paran mean versus why are we using these kind of words in Paran? That's a very simple example. There's so many things to ask. Like, okay, there are nuances between different gharana. So yes, there is a lot of information that Tai gives us while we are learning. So yes, there's that at the back of your head, but the sky's the limit. You can get as much information as you can, and all that's possible through just a simple prompt system. So I think when I am thinking of it as a student, I'm thinking of reducing the time, not shortcuts, the time or the effort in trying to secure information. So I think that's where I want to remove that part of the equation and spend more time on riyas. There's one more thing. You could also have riyas building habits as something that you could ask for, where similar to what Tai says, that wake up in the morning and do like 10 minutes of small footwork or whatever you learned last in class and do it every day. So start with a small habit, you will be able to build it to an hour or make it a part of your life. But what if, even after telling us, it takes a lot of effort to having to do that, and let's just be honest about it. So then, what are we? How are we using AI for it? We could have like a tool that would be able to remind me that, hey, you've not done this chore of your day, which is wake up, think about it, or thinking about a piece or whatever you've learned. Think about it in terms of, am I doing the hands or the padhant of it correctly? Am I giving the right accents? Because it's not just about doing footwork, but about learning the accents in footwork. So all these things can work through a feedback loop, and AI can be that feedback for you.
Amazing. One more thing to add to the list. Doing padhant with tal kriya is a big challenge for some students. You get immersed in the composition, you lose track of the tal kriya. You're too much into tal kriya, padhant becomes absolutely dry. So maybe that, whatever kind of the tool that it is, it can help you keep track of the tal kriya. And maybe it gives you a beep if you go wrong. If you mess up the tali khali combination, then it instantly tells you that something went wrong. So you don't have to. So you develop that habit. As I always say, don't wait for the bandish, for the piece to not end on the sum, for you to understand that you messed it up somewhere in the middle, right? You have to realize it at that instant. That's I missed something here. So to create that alertness and awareness, there can be a tool.
I think there's just so many, like when I think about it, there's just so many examples. Just, for instance, when sometimes Sai says that you should be able to do the actual lay with your feet while reciting the Toda, and, doing that leg and mouth coordination pretty much with it. But think about that. So there's just so many examples in terms of self-learning, I would call it. And that's just related to audio. Now we have one major thing that I think in yesterday's lecture also was brushed on was injury prevention or preventive medicine in general. And I think that's something very near and dear to all artists. When I started dancing, there was awareness of, okay, we should be doing exercise, but as I grew up, we got more understanding of, okay, warm up is important, or you need to have a certain kind of cool down, or you need to, because you should basically treat yourself as an athlete, not a dancer, but an athlete. So exactly the regime that athletes take, you should be able to do that. So what if there actually is a lot of research going in injury prevention, and I believe there's some commercialized tools in sports medicine specifically, because, for instance, for basketball, there is a tool which is commercialized, and what they do is have a similar video interface where they watch you and they actually tell you, are you training correctly or not? And there's a tool as well for ballet. There's a lot of research that's going in ballet, and what they're doing is they are checking the spins and ensuring whether the spins are done correctly, so that that person doesn't end up in some kind of injury, because injury is happening when you have like overuse of that muscle and you're not giving it that rest. So what this tool is doing, or wrong technique. So what it's doing is, through video, is analyzing the technique, but it's also counting how many times you've done it, or how often do you do it, and how much rest time is going in between. So because that's also a cycle of things where you dance for a while, but you need to make sure that you are rehabilitating that muscle, that ligament. So I think that's another field which would probably, as a student, I would want to have actual tools handy. But I think that's like in terms of dance or in terms of classical dancing, that's still coming up. It's not commercialized yet, but it's in research. I hope it works.
I think a lot of tools can be created to help beginner level students who still haven't figured out who they are in terms of dance. Like there is a lot of hand holding that needs to be done at that stage. And I think there AI can actually step in and make wonders. Then there comes a level where we grow as dancers and we start developing a personality as dancers. Then we start understanding how we are different from other dancers in certain aspects. For example, I just said some time before that correcting the basic foot position. So AI might step in and tell a dancer that your feet are not at 45, they need to be wider or whatever. But then you grow as a dancer and then you understand what looks good on you, or of course with the help of your teacher or even with the help of a mirror, right? You understand what looks good on you. So that exact 45 might not suit everyone, right? And when that exploration starts, then I think AI will have a lesser and lesser role to play with the actual human teacher or guru more on the forefront.
I was going to hit exactly that point that right now, like the examples that I mentioned, yes, there's just a lot of examples there. But like I mentioned, it has to go hand in hand with the guru, because I personally believe that the guru shishya interaction is extremely important, even in the formative years. I think it's not, like I mentioned at the very beginning, it's not just about becoming a dancer, it's about a lot of different things that you pick up just watching your guru. And also about the dance form or about the elements that support it. So it's a hand in hand kind of a setup where I use this as a tool to help me out, to make sure that my students or in me as a student, either way, are doing what I've taught or doing what I've learned, and then still come back to my guru for feedback. So, yeah.
Anyone? Well, I think some applications. Oh yeah, I just.
Okay, I think some applications that are relevant are also in the area of sports. And Olympic trainers, for instance, already use things like that. So, like swimmers have cameras underwater, or if you have like team sports like football or basketball, even cricket, right? So, there are cameras that analyze, and then your coaches will tell you what you should improve upon. But now AI will tell you what you can do better. So, we already have a lot of those applications that are already out there that people are using, which is similar because they're understanding your body and how it's moving and what you can do to make it better. For instance, skaters, what you need to be more aerodynamic and move better, so we can do
that. The next one, Medha, I would like you to start answering the question, but definitely both of you are most welcome to pitch in, because for me, this is very interesting. So I was just thinking how, like we've been discussing AI from the perspective of teaching and from the perspective of learning. But now let's go forward and address the performance setting. The actual performance, not the learning or teaching. So I was thinking, what if I create a choreography? And then what I normally do is I just invite a bunch of people, including my senior students or some visiting artist or whoever. If Manisha Tai is here, I make it a point that I make her sit and watch my new work, so I get an input, feedback from her. In the same way, we get feedback. Okay, no, I'm just kind of it's all over. Let me go back a step and start again. So what I mean is, on any new work that is being created, we need audience feedback, right? And a new choreography gets set in its ways only after being performed many times. And then the changes or the fluidness in it, it starts getting more and more concrete depending on the feedback that you get from the audience. For example, at a certain place or for a certain scene in my choreography, if I don't get the expected feedback from the audience, then I repeatedly, then I know that there is something missing there. So I focus on that scene more and try to make it stronger. Right? In the same way, YouTube or Instagram gives us feedback on in your video what was the audience retention or audience engagement, and then we see a drop in the graph, and then that's how we know that okay, how much ever long my content is, people are watching it just for first 30 seconds. So that kind of a feedback. So in my imagination, I'm preparing a new piece and I try it out in front of that chosen special audience. But then we bring AI into the picture. So from their heartbeats or from their brain waves or whatever that mechanism is, I should be able to analyze in what places in the choreography there was I lost them basically. So I'm able to improve based on that feedback. So do you actually see this happen in future, or do you have any feedback on it? Is it even possible?
I think you already designed that system because you talked about data, how to collect that data, what you want, what questions to ask of the data, and these are all really important steps to build like a good AI model. And a lot of times people they want AI, but they don't even know where to start or what they want. So this is great. You already have built the system. There's nothing more to do. So to answer your question, yes. This is the area called sentiment analysis mostly.
Oh, okay.
And now, like I mentioned, multimodal, there's different kinds of inputs, which you already listed, your camera, your heartbeats, and other things. So you can use all of those inputs to gauge what the audience is reacting. Like, I'm dancing, how many people are looking away? Or how many people are applauding at what kind of, some are they, or at end of what composition? After looking at their phones, how many are shooting, videos? Are they getting excited, which, your biofeedback, like heartbeat and other things can do that. So you actually do have applications out there that do that. So you have cameras that will look at audience responses. You already have that in place. My niece in Pune, she went to a Coldplay concert in India. I think Coldplay is in the news, so everybody now knows that they're doing a concert. It's not doing a tour. So she went to the tour and they got these wristbands. And she said it was just to show lights. But the wristbands are actually collecting data on how people are reacting, if they're waving their arms or not, what their heartbeat is. So applications are there already that you can just use fairly out of the box. Now, once you have that data, what you do with it, that's where that AI comes in. Right? That you have all this data, how do you get insights from that data? What questions do you want to ask, which you already answered. So. You're already an AI expert.
I actually, so this is what you can do, because we designed a system for sentiment analysis for Manchester United. How many of you know the football team? So it was our system, which was, to us, it was brilliant because it was capitalism on its very high. We basically, what it tapped into was the audience's reaction for certain things, and then it was one-click buying. So on their phone, they would get feeds to buy things, and it was one click. So the amount of revenue that was generated. So what you do from the data that you gather from people's sentiment, that's what they did. So that's already out there. But I think we do have an architect and a designer here who should go to the technical industry. You seem to have ideas for everything that wants to go to market from here. I'm amazed. It's truly amazed.
It's funny. Nothing new. So, I mean,
getting excited about technology is one thing, but actually getting there where we build it and use it is something else. And I think the gap is huge. Like, there would be plenty of people like me who are just bursting with ideas, but then what do you do with them? Finally, you are going to come to your class and do your things and do your riyas and create your choreography and just keep dreaming about how this will actually be or will it be possible one day, because we all know that it's all market driven, right? So, and there is no priority for these things unless we make up our minds and build something maybe on an experimental basis which we are using for ourselves, and that kind of triggers some interest or intrigue in somebody out there in the market. But yeah, thank you so much.
But the way you've literally defined the entire input, output, everything in the system, all you need is a bunch of engineers at your side.
No, I try to learn from whatever is going on around
Right,
me.
because I think from like you're talking from the user perspective that or the customer perspective that I have a bunch of ideas but I don't have engineers or I don't have the technical help that I'm looking for. But as an engineer, a lot of times we are struggling with trying to understand what really does the user want. I mean, that's my entire job, honestly. So I think if that gap is kind of bridged, then it's definitely possible.
So, Priya, we had one question in the list, the next question, but I think we have spoken a lot about it. The role of human interaction, or the roles that humans play in AI. So I think do you have anything more to contribute to it? How AI should not or cannot replace a human role?
I do, because I think there are two instances that Thai made me think of why I did not want AI in this part of my life. Why I did not want Thai to be talking to me about AI before she did. So there was this one day, I think that was a game-changing day for me in Bharatanatyam. It was a learning day, and we learned, how many of you know Tyagaraja, the poet from South India? And he's an ardent fan of God Rama. He reveres him, he loves him as a parent, as a lover, so many different ways. And he has written so many poems in praise of Lord Ram. And my teacher, she just sat down and she said, I'm going to teach you the next Tyagaraja Kriti. And she didn't ask us to stand, none of that. She just said, I'm going to talk to you about this Kriti. And she did the storytelling. And when she got to the second half of that song, she said, I'm just paraphrasing, I'm being my teacher, and she said, Ram, you came to Draupadi when she called you this way and that way, and then you came to Sabri and you came to her this way and that way, and so many different ways that you have come to these people. This is me, Tyagaraja, and I have called you with 1 crore names, variety of names all my life. Are you going to come to me at some point? And this was when Tyagaraja had this very precious idol of Ram, and his brother, in greed, gets rid of that idol. And Tyagaraja is almost seeking this idol out, because that is his entire life. He couldn't find him, and he didn't know what to do. And he keeps writing poems after poems where he's seeking him out. That feeling that my teacher captured when she, narrated just the story, and that day class was done. Even today, when I hear that song, whether it is somebody performing, somebody singing, it could be, I cannot stop myself from crying. And I don't know why. I'm an atheist. And I cannot stop myself from crying because it's the emotion, it's the human. And I would never want to replace that learning, that moment with my teacher. Similarly, I had one moment with Thai. I come from the Bharatanatyam field, and we have a different day for Guru Purnima, and Thai has a different day. So the day we had our Guru Purnima, I came to her and I gave her, what we call as Tambula, and I said, Thai, I just want to get your blessing. And Thai said, what do you do on this day with, your group of people? And I said, well, we get blessings from the teacher because we also get the Gungru blessed from the teacher. And I hadn't gotten my Gungru yet. And Thai said, hold on, I have a new Gungru sitting inside. I said, I'm supposed to buy it from you. And she said, yes, you are, but not today. Today you're not going to pay me for it. Today I'm going to bless you with the Gungru. And she just gave me a new Gungru. I think that day I felt the same thing, what I felt the other day. And I don't think I ever want to change that moment for me in art, in learning, this area of whatever this is, that's part of my life, with machines.
So
I don't know how to.
So good. That's the answer.
No, I mean, I teared up because I thought of my moments with my gurus, right? Where it is so personal. Oh my god.
I didn't mean to do this.
And who would have thought that tears in an AI conversation? Anyways, let's move on. Now, this question is for all three of you. You can answer from your own perspective. I have a fear that the more AI helps us, less and less brain do we use, right? For example, common examples like we don't tend to remember as many phone numbers as before, or like everybody will come up with 10 such examples. So, do you see a threat coming our way that in next 20 years, what human brain is able to do today, it's totally not capable of doing those things after 20 years or so?
I can go first. When I think about this, I think there is a caveat to it. So, in 20 years down the line, if with an asterisk, you look at this technology as a way to take shortcuts or to not learn the fundamentals yourself, yes, there is a possibility that you'll be incapable of taking care of things. But like any other technology, AI is essentially any other form of technology. For instance, you have calculators. That doesn't mean you don't know how to count numbers. You learn how to count numbers, but you have calculators because you're trying to save the time, the effort that goes into making tedious calculations. You have maps. Doesn't mean that you won't be able to navigate yourself out there. But now, if you just blindly start following maps without actually putting any thought into it, then yes, there is a possibility that, your brain is going to go to mush. So I think AI has a capability to augment our brain capacity to the extent that it gives us more avenues to focus on things that are more related to technique, in terms of arts, more related to creativity, to emotion, while making sure that we are also learning the technique correctly in terms of like jati, theka, and all the technical part of it. But if now we say that, like for instance, I started the conversation with saying that I just inputted a tihai, I asked AI to create a tihai for me. Now, it's even if it is trained on trillions of data points, and there's a lot of data out there, there is no context. If I just tell it, okay, just create a tihai for me in this tal, it's not going to get the context of what a human would want. So we don't want to replace our brain with it. We still want to learn fundamentals the way we learn today till date from our gurus. The thing that we would want to replace is the self-learning part. Is the for instance, even in terms of performance, light adjustment, sound adjustment, what would be more impressive or more tolerable to the audience from a performance point of view, not in terms of where should my hand be, but actually what kind of topics would be interesting, what kind of light arrangements would make it more impactful, what kind of Instagram feed would bring more audience interested in my performances. So I think there's a lot of other things. We just need to use our creativity, our human creativity, to figure out avenues where we could leverage this without letting go of that control. Be intentional about it.
And what do you think about it?
Oh,
I agree. But I agree with Tai as well. I don't know what has happened to that part of my brain where I used to remember phone numbers and I keep asking that question to everyone. Like, what happened to that part? Because I want to reuse it for something else. Because I doesn't have to do that anymore. But looks like it has gotten reused. We just don't realize it. So we just, as long as we are intentional about our use of AI, I don't think it should replace our intelligence, although there are times when I do go down that path. I do get concerned, I do get scared. So I want to volunteer that.
So I think it's not a in 20 years thing. We are already there. Because just a couple of days ago, Harvard published a research where they said that just in 2.5 years of OpenAI and generative AI coming out, we have already lost significant reasoning skills. So we are already there. And because we rely so much on that just to do everything for us, right? I mean, Priya mentioned about summarizing the document that she did. I do that all the time. But then that summary is essentially what AI thinks I should know or I should get. It's not me reading that particular document and me deciding for myself what those highlights are. And we are building a document summarization thing at work as well. And that's our same thing, is what is going to be important for that law enforcement officer. We don't know that from a case that we have, right? How are we going to summarize that? We don't know that. Another example is that I asked AI to generate some report for me based on whatever I wanted to do, and it created this. And I said cite sources, and it created this beautiful report, cited all the sources, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And it actually has sources that really gives me all this data. Let me go check out this paper, and I went to check that paper out. It had like perfect title, affiliation, email addresses, people's names. None of them existed. So it was all generated. This was it's called hallucination. So in Gen AI, it was all completely generated. So I think, so how much...
It's cheating.
It is cheating, and it is a big problem with generative AI is that you cannot believe everything that it says because it will hallucinate. And that's where, AI explainability comes into play, where ideally you want to explain how the model makes decisions, but we don't know that. But at least tell us where it came from. Like, where did you get that information from? Right? And so I think the onus is on us. We have to be careful enough that we are aware that this is AI. It's, not the word of God. And how much do we trust it? Like, if you really like something, make sure you double check that. Right? Make sure you use your own reasoning skills. Like, yes, if you're in a quick hurry, you can, have AI do those things for you. But it's up to you to decide how you want to use them.
So are the schools, maybe from elementary or intermediate level, are they already teaching kids about ethical use of AI or stuff like that? Arav, do your teachers talk about it?
So last year in STEM, our
Do you want to come and say it on the mic? So, thank you, Arav. Use that one. This cord is short.
So last year in STEM, we had a project using an app called Teachable Machine. In that we were learning about AI by teaching the app. We put in multiple pictures of different things. For example, a flashlight and a plastic cup. And then we showed those things into the app, and the app had to detect what the item is, and some kids in our school also sometimes just experiment with it in their free time too. That's pretty much it.
But do your teachers talk to you about how you should avoid using AI or any red flags associated with it? Do they say such things to you?
Do they tell you that you can't copy your homework from ChatGPT, for instance?
No, no, they don't tell us because honestly, no one really does do that. No one does that. So.
You get an idea.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all that I learned in school about AI.
Thank you so much, Ara. But that brings us to a more serious topic like malpractices or illegal activities generated from AI or with help of AI. So are there any laws that are being created anew to avoid, to restrict such things happening?
Every day. Yeah, I think we're in a brand new world, right? So
The laws are not, they're not done yet. because they are evolving every day, only because we don't know. It's a brave new world. Have you girls heard of that song?
Yeah.
And I keep telling myself, we're in the brave new world. And so thankfully it's evolving. A lot of the times, what I think should have been, we weren't foreseeing a lot of what we were hit with. For example, the political, the radical movements that we see today. Not getting into the politics of it, but just how people are behaving and what data can do to brainwash people. Things like that. This should have, could we have, would have, should have, could we have foreseen it? But that's everything, right? Once upon a time, that used to be advertisement. You would watch TV and you want to buy it. But that said, you are always working after the fact. But we do have a ton of compliance that's coming to play. There's at at macro political level. There is also at what we call as domain, because this is art domain. You have other domains that are there in the world. So you have laws that are applicable for so many different, what I want to call nuances of your life. And I'm glad that it's happening. There are some silly questions that get asked. I'm sure all of you have seen memes on those and you laugh about it. But outside of that, I think they are good conversations.
Yeah, I think I just have one point to add to it is, like she said, there are laws, there's compliance, but there's also a component of it in teaching. Like when I came for my master's, there was a lot of talk in terms of, okay, yeah, there should be ethical AI, or there should be, because as I was doing my master's, there was always the possibility that even plagiarism came with any kind of tech, as compared to like right now we're doing it with ChatGPT. You're thinking of scenarios with ChatGPT, but before that there was, okay, instead of doing your assignment yourself, you are checking it on Google or checking it on any kind of code repo that you have. So it's just another version of that where all of it is accessible in a human-like language. Same sources, just all in one place. So that is becoming a component of teaching also, where when they're teaching AI or they're teaching some component of AI, there is a lot of importance given to ethics of using it, and also in terms of work, where, like for instance, in my company, in terms of data privacy, in terms of, okay, now I'm signing up for something. I'm signing up for a Google search or signing up for a profile on Facebook or any of these social platforms. What am I really signing up for? So it's a two-person job. It's not just the job of the company that's creating it or the service that is generating this information, but also of the person that's using it. When you are signing up for something, it's your responsibility, an equal responsibility for you to actually make sure whatever you're signing up for, that this is the information that I am availing to. This is the information that I am giving access to. So there's a lot of thought process that's going, and like she said, it's an evolving process. We are trying to catch up with the technological advancements that are going, but I hope it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, so today there are no laws or anything that governs AI and how you use that at all. Now, that doesn't mean we won't have those in the future, because like when you think about it, when identity thefts became a thing, we didn't have a cybercrime unit either, right? But there are a lot of laws today or compliance that you need to have for data and what you do with the data and where does that data go, right? For instance, like I said, we have a lot of law enforcement data that's very sensitive data. So that includes like criminal data, suspects data, also people in witness protection that you don't want, or victim information, right, that you don't want everybody to do. So we have to be like CJIS compliant, for instance, which is a criminal justice, whatever, which FBI determines. But that means that we cannot send any data out, which also means that we cannot use ChatGPT or anything, because that means we are sending data out, we are sending those prompts out to ChatGPT. So that cannot go. So there are restrictions on how you use the data itself, but no restrictions on, what your ethical AI or any of those, which I think we're still figuring out. Still doing. And it's moving at such a fast pace that even we don't know what it can do, right?
So it's like learning as we go. Yeah, that is the distinction. That she's right. it is the laws on the data and not the AI itself. But I would still think
There's biases and prejudice. At least one thing that folks work on. For example, and you have to take a serious example. You know how the American market is biased against African American Black people, and so a lot of the historic data, like Medha said, is unfortunately not necessarily helping that bias. So when companies like, for example, Zillow, bring to them the housing market. And the reason I know this is because I worked with another company that is very similar to Zillow. What the intent should be, and the intent is to avoid the bias. Now, is there a foolproof way? Not yet. That's basically what it is.
Before we open it up for questions from the audience, would you like to add anything, something that we haven't touched upon and it's relevant to the conversation?
yeah.
Awesome. I'm also waiting for it. How about we start with questions from our online participants? Just check if there are any. No questions?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, then let's open it to the audience that we have here.
So I want to bring up the interesting trend that went viral few months ago, the Ghibli Art Studio. So my question is where people used to upload photos and get their caricatures or whatever the art samples. So the intention, as you mentioned, was just mostly for fun. So what is your take as a subject matter expert? Was it meaning as disrespect to the artist, or do you also feel why not? Because me and my friends, we had a good debate on this, and there were folks who felt why not? This is just for fun. We are just uploading it on Insta and that's done. The Ghibli Art Studio, they are not going to replace the human artist with ChatGPT. So what do you think?
No, I want Medha to answer because you had the answer on the responsible AI. So yeah, I want to hear your articulation.
So I'm not aware of this challenge. So I think it is. Can you summarize that?
So Ghibli Art Studio is a Japanese animation studio, and there was a trend on Instagram where you can upload your own picture or any picture on ChatGPT and get Ghibli-like illustrations, and which were always flawed because I have myself tried it. So it's not 100%, but
It was for fun.
Yeah, for fun.
Yeah, it's like cartoon image of that caricature-ish in a certain style. I see.
So yeah, that's a good question, and that exactly is one of the problems with AI that we have today, because you can very easily teach it to mimic something, right? If you ask, tell AI hey, I want to write this email, but write it in how Steve Jobs would write it. It will do it for you, or how Tony Robbins would write it, and it would do it for you, right? And that is that copyright infringement? Is it because it's Gen AI, but then it's trained on all of this data that comes from that particular artist or that particular person? And then whatever's out in the public domain. So is it really copying them? It's generating its own content. So who holds that IP, or who owns that? Is it ChatGPT, or is it that person, or is it you? Because you asked them, you put that prompt in to do that, and we don't have the answer to that. There's no right or wrong. But again, there are no rules. There are no laws against it. So people will continue to do that. But that does hurt the person then, right? In this case, that studio, I'm sure it hurt the studio. But on the other hand, maybe it made them popular too, because I hadn't heard of it, now I've heard of it.
Yeah.
So there are always pros and cons to that.
I was going to exactly say the second point, that at the end of the day, it's still publicity. And like you said, in the trends, not every single one got what they wanted. So at the end of the day, it's not really replacing it. It's probably making it popular. There is a threat, of course, because again, it's up to you how you're using it, and it's up to you what you're sharing. At the end of the day, you're sharing your personal photo or your information on a public platform, and then you have no control over it. That can be used to train the model even better. So that's something you as a user, like I mentioned earlier, it's up to you as a user or a customer of what you want to share, and it's also up to the tool. So it's a debatable topic. I get that, but at me personally, I think at the end of the day, if you're doing it for do no harm, then I think it should be okay.
Which side were you on?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it's not harming anyone because as we are all saying that studio is not going to replace human artists, and this is just me uploading my image. No, I'm not hurting anyone, so why not?
Why?
Let me counter you with that. I agree with you, and I agree with Medha. And so, first of all, I've heard all of this. The only thing that's been bothering me today and yesterday, just a tad bit, is we all seem to be spending just a tad bit of time on all the memes that are coming out from what happened at Coldplay. And to me, keeping aside, how we put moral, because morality is subjective, but we all seem to have our own opinion on morality. But they're just two people who went to have an evening out, and now their life is up, just up in flames. So you have hurt them. I was really truly this morning. I was just so irritated that this is news, and now there's so many memes from it. I mean, all of my LinkedIn is filled with memes from it. I was just so frustrated with that. But I wish we used AI for better things. To me, when I use Merlin, it makes me the happiest in the day when I find out which bird is calling. Because there's an owl in our backyard and it talks back when you talk at night. It's very interesting. I don't even know why it does that. So it's that part of, I think, technology that we should tap into.
So with AI, no, I'm good.
No,
I'm
I
good.
think it's okay.
I think
just
they can
about,
hear.
catching the
Yeah.
sound.
Thank you. So with AI, it's being very futuristic. It's very hard not to think about all those futuristic movies that we've seen, like I, Robot and Terminator, and thinking that that's where we are headed. We touched that topic a little bit about the morality. Like we using AI in a bad way is very minimal if effect maybe, but there are bigger fishes in the world who have a lot of control. It is very fearful to think what would they do if they think about it, like just like atomic bomb, I guess. Because you guys have been giving so much of factual data, I wanted to ask, like, are there any, do you think there are any research or laws being put for this, or there are actually systems in place where this can be controlled?
Short answer is no. Because we are a capitalist society and everybody's seeking to make profit out of that. So right now, I mean, there are no laws, no regulations whatsoever, unfortunately.
So is there even a body who is thinking about it?
Yes. So there is a huge body of work just in ethical, responsible AI and how to deal with that. And bias is like one very important part of it, right? Because as Priya mentioned, all of that AI is ultimately trained on the data that we generate. And there are biases because of what biases we have. What does the majority people think? That's what AI is going to learn, right? Today, if you ask AI what is classical music or give me a composition, it's going to give you Western music. It's not going to give you Hindustani classical music composition because that's what it's trained on. So the biases also kind of show up in AI. And not only that, it also reinforces the biases, right? Because it's similar to what Google or what comes up in Google searches, recommended searches, right? If you're a liberal, for instance, you go to CNN a lot, you'll get more liberal news or more liberal, search results. Versus if you go to Fox News, you get those kinds of results. So it is trained on whatever data that it sees, most of, and that is in a patriarchal society in this country, or at least. Most of AI is predominantly Caucasian, white male, so it's all biased towards that. You'll see those biases every time.
Add one thing to it. There's a lot happening in academia, for sure. There is, like she said, an entire, big subtopic of research, I can say, where they are trying to come up with more and more investigations to try and convince that this is something that needs to be commercialized. This is something that needs to be, made into a more regulated way. But academia, it takes its time. It has to come up with that amount of data to prove that this is something that is immediate. That's something that has to be done in a more responsible way. So till then, it's up to us and up to the tools that we use.
So I just want to add, I'm glad that you touched regarding the academic, the universities and something which are having different research. So I always think that whether are these different companies or the universities, they come up with different researches, and where does it trickle from? Means who generates it, and how does it trickle into the companies? Or if you can, means we always have the discussions. My daughter being in NVIDIA and son being in Apple, we always have these discussions. But I would like to know your perspective.
At least to my knowledge, there is a hand-in-hand setup with academia versus at least the company that I work in. We have a lot of collaborations with lead professors or experts in the field who are developing a technology that is something that we align with. So there is a lot of conversation going on there. And in that process, of course, based on how that academic research is going, there is always that conversation of, okay, how are we deploying this technology? For instance, a very simple example is data privacy. And kind of contrary to the public opinion, Apple does take it pretty seriously. In terms of that, there is a lot of work. There are dedicated teams, dedicated folks who are working towards making it more of a system, like she mentioned. Is there a system? Is there a process that's going into it? And when you're asking for information, like even before things come to the user, there's a lot of user studies, for instance, that happen, which happen in academia, which happen in companies as well. So when you're doing that, how much information are you asking for? You should, what kind of thought process are you asking? Like, for instance, if I'm checking something on my heart rate, do I really need that person's phone number? Not really. So there's a lot of responsibility on the researchers on this side of the table, which is the developers, the researchers, to decide what kind of information are you accessing or are you asking for, and how are you handling it. It's not just asking for it, but what you're doing with it moving forward. Like if there is some information I've asked in terms of, okay, share your, you get this prompt on your iPhone saying, ask app to track or not to track. And you have an option to say no. So there is a little bit of nuances here and there, a lot of thought put into making sure we can make it as safe, as secure as possible for the users. But yes, it's a work in progress. There's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of things that can be missed out. And I think that is what you would want in the coming years, to make it more and more better.
You had a question? Yeah. Yeah, so close it.
Okay. So usually academic research is mostly objective and unbiased and anti-capitalist. But that said, the grants that drive that research comes from some agencies or private organizations, and ultimately it is what those agencies want to do more research in. So if they say we have these bunch of grants for ethical AI, then we'll go and investigate that, otherwise they won't. And a lot of that is driven by the market. We are here a capitalist society, so I don't think that will make most profits is what we want to go with. Now that said, it all depends on what is desired, right? Because you have, like with FBI, or even when I was at Los Angeles in my current job, you have trainings, like FBI or ATF or whoever have training to identify people who might have bad intentions. And that clearly is profiling a person, based on where they come from or whatever. Like in Los Alamos, when I was there, we had training, like people from these countries look like this. So identify them. They could be spies that we don't want. India was one of them because we are a nuclear country. So if you look like an Indian, then be extra cautious with them. So they were actually taught, if you're Russian, be extra cautious with them. They could be a spy. So it was clear-cut profiling, right? So that's what was desired then. But now, like I said, we're building these things with all the crime data that we have. We don't want to, obviously, we don't want any biases in our data set, and we don't want to, encourage that. Why? Because we don't want ACLU to sue us. Or if any detectives use our data in their case, they should not say AI told us to do so. That's why we did this, because then the prosecutor was going to destroy that case in court, right? So those are the reasons we want to follow ethical AI. So that all relates to like the profits in business. It's not so much that we want to do the right thing.
So AI or ML is only as good as the data it has, right, and the inferences that it generates out of that. Whose responsibility do we think is to feed in that right, unbiased data to all of this compute? And just drawing an example from dance, since we are all learning dance, let's say the data that is getting fed in today is biased towards one particular gharana, and it's only rich in that one gharana, and the others are probably lacking, just because there isn't enough data on that. It will start inferencing that maybe that's the true meaning of this dance, or that's where it comes from, or things like that. So can we, if we are particularly interested in something, can we just sit at back and watch things and hope that unbiased data comes in, or will we have to do something about it?
This is a very real life question, because we have seen that happen. Since childhood, there was this construct that only this one gharana is the Kathak gharana, and that was supported by government, by Indian Council for Cultural Relations, by Doordarshan, and in turn by viewers as well, by audience as well. And that notion kind of seeped into the practitioners of that gharana, generation after generation, thinking that they are the first and foremost gharana in Kathak. And it took a lot of time for the other gharanas to, for phenomenal artists to be born in those gharanas who earned name and fame and then brought that gharana to the forefront with them. So I completely get it when she says that it's all sentiment driven or notion driven, data driven. I'm talking about a different kind of data, but it is data in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it is data in the end, and I think clean data versus unclean data is one different topic, but then biased versus unbiased is a completely a different area. And I think any output will always be biased towards the majority of the data. You cannot have you cannot have the data to be completely diverse. So it'll always be biased, sort of overfitted to whatever the biggest, your data looks like, the biggest cluster looks like.
But I do want to quote Tai on this one.
Just because Tai did something that I didn't think an artist would do proactively. At least I've not heard so far. And I'll tell you why. How many of you know about reCAPTCHA? How many times have you gone and done the I'm not a robot thing, right? You've clicked on the traffic signal so many times. That was actually reCAPTCHA getting you to do their work for them, which is data labeling. Okay, so the more people participated, the more they bettered their data. The one thing I loved about this whole thing, this whole idea that Tai came up with, when she, set up the call and everything, and she said, I'm scared of, this new world we are going into, but you know what? It is going to happen. We might as well participate in it. And today when I sent out the white paper and said, Tai, I think I can get in touch with the team that's doing this POC work, she said, I want to participate in it. And that's all it is. I think we all need to roll up our sleeves and be a part of it. That's my answer, because otherwise, how do you ensure you're living in a fair world for yourself and for your children?
I agree. I totally agree with that point where we should be, I think what she's saying is we should be the ones who should take charge of what kind of data we are feeding. But one more point to add to it is while, we are relying on all of us, or rather not all of us, but more than that, experts putting in the right data or putting in as much data as they can. And then because of the diverse set, we get better inferences. As a recipient of it, from a student, say a student point of view, you need to have that cognition of this is not the word of God. This is the information that was kind of curated from a trillion websites, or all the information that was put in through experts of different kind of styles, different thought processes, different school of teaching. So what you want to take away from it is, okay, this is the information there, but I have a reliable source like a guru to ask this, that okay, I found all this information, whether it is about nuances of Gharana or whether it is about doing a certain thing a certain way, and checking it with a guru or with a person who can label the data correctly is the way to go. So it's a two-person job, I would say.
And I hope my next question is not taking us back to square one, but how do you feed the correct data? Like, what are the means and ways of feeding data to AI? Like, how do you do it?
So it depends on what kind of problem you want to solve, because any kind of topic is so vast. So if you just decide, okay, now I want to put in anything and everything I know about Kathak and all the syllabus that I have till the end of Alankar.
Can I interrupt you and give you one problem to solve? For example, there are 3 very well-known gharanas of Kathak: Lucknow, Jaipur, Banaras. Everybody knows about it. But there is another lesser-known gharana called Raigad Gharana. Artists who belong to that gharana absolutely believe that they are a standalone, independent fourth gharana. But then there are also other schools of thought which say that no, this is just a like a subsidiary of a certain gharana. So what if we want Raigad Gharana to be established as a fourth gharana of Kathak? Now take this case and solve it.
So now for this, there is a way to spin how you want the final inference to be. The more data you feed, or the more number of instances, like for instance, let's take an example of we are 20 students. If all the 20 students say that Raigad Gharana is a gharana, then what AI is doing is basically...
Say meaning publish
publish it somewhere.
Like,
there is some articles, there is some videos, there's some talks somewhere.
So don't even chats count?
Yes, everything counts. So the more...
it depends. Okay.
Yeah. But again, data privacy. But the more data points you feed in, what AI is doing is just consolidating all the information. And I think even before we go to AI, what does Google search do? It is consolidating all the different websites. It's ranking them based on the most visited one, most relatable one, most relevant one, and then creating an overview out of it. That, okay, if I search, where is SISK, for instance, it's going to search all that stands for SISK and then find the most visited one, and also take into account what do I usually search for, what am I interested in, and accordingly it's going to give me the prompt. So if you want to bias something, or for instance, in this case, you will be biasing because it depends on how many people believe in that, and the more people put that information in, the likely it is to give that answer.
Got it. Yes.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Did you have your question answered? Because
But it's not related to the data generation.
Okay, so
I think you had to add something.
yeah, just I wanted to add to what you were saying there. So she mentioned Google search. That's a good example. That follows a PageRank algorithm, which takes in a bunch of other things. But essentially, you need to have like whatever content you have online to be SEO optimized, and then your website or something will show up into your search results. Likewise for ChatGPT, if the people of that gharana create a lot of content, ChatGPT or any you have Anthropic or Google, they'll look for everything that is in the public domain. So more social media presence, websites, articles that are out there in the public domain. They will scan that and use that. Your chats like WhatsApp, Facebook chats, those are private. Those cannot be in the public domain. So those are not used for training.
So my question is more about our everyday exposure to AI or technology in general. Like to give one example is like recommendations. Wherever you go, like even Google search, YouTube, Instagram or any social media, you get fed with so many recommendations and that is indirectly influencing you. And the difference here is me being in tech industry, I understand how these systems work and how powerful they are. But still, I am getting influenced in some way. Versus compared to my mom, who is completely unaware of how it works internally. So she's even more prone to getting influenced because of these technologies. So with AI getting more powerful every day, how is it like? What should we do as, I think, everyday users to, I don't know, keep ourselves safe?
That's a philosophical question. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, it all boils down to how any recommendation, anything that AI or whatever tells you, what you do with that information, right? It's good that you're aware because you are in the technical field. But again, like I said, there are hallucinations and other things. A lot of times, even those recommendations are not even applicable. But sometimes it's really scary how, like you said something in your Google email and now, your Amazon is recommending you something.
Or sometimes I think it's even reading my thoughts. That's scary.
And then and that happens sometimes, and then I think, where did I have that conversation? Was Alexa around or Siri around? Like, where did I have that conversation? Because it's scary how all the data is being used today, and sometimes it's really useful.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, you have to take whatever is useful for you and make sure you're not. I mean, you need some kind of self-discipline.
So we were talking about digitizing and automating the aspects of Kathak, right? So this is a very personal opinion-based question, I think. So all of you might have different opinions. So we were saying that we are trying to digitize or automate the aspects of Kathak from her answer especially. Do you think by doing that, are we preserving it or flattening its layered history by feeding it in one day?
Do you have it's a set of questions? Do you have any particular example, like anything that is like a burning question for you?
So, for example, I started learning Trital when I was 7 years old. I am still learning Trital when I'm like 27 years old. And then, but the layers of Trital I have explored. But if the data is fed to the, let's say, AI, that, this is the Trital, then if as 10 years old, if I search Trital bandishes, will it also show the bandishes that I am supposed to explore after I learned something?
But I think that's where we infer that total elimination of human in that process is not possible. I mean,
There is personalization possible. Okay, in the sense that where Medha was mentioning, there is a where you get prompted with things. You were mentioning about things that it picks up from the Gmail. So you do have personalization happening. In fact, we spoke about the search engine optimization. It's optimized to your location, right? So have you seen the prompt that comes up? So that level of personalization, a certain level of personalization is possible. Right now, because we are in an art setting, I want to call everything else transactional. So in a non-art setting, in transactional world, it's possible. For example, I found out that Tai was doing this class because I had trained my social media feed. That's about it. But will it be possible in the art world? Like I said, even Oxford, I read a report today on Oxford as well. So I did a lot of reading for that, just for the fun of it, and I enjoyed it. That Oxford report is something I would love to share with all of you because it works off of fine arts, and they had taken all of the inputs from different artists to put it together. But the thought is this, right? That we still don't know the scale at which we are going to go. I mean, to which this is going to go. That's my take.
Something to add to hers. What I think when, in terms of the layering part of learning, because Tritals is something that's so fundamental and I'm just still learning it to date and still for many, many years to go. The one thing that I feel is, as a beginner, if I was exposed to a Visharad Trital or an advanced Trital, I wouldn't have the capability to understand it. So that aspect should also come into consideration, that even if there's data all out there and every single piece of, say, every single composition of Trital is out there and I can just access it by just prompting in something, I don't have the capability to understand it. So basically, at the end of the day, it's no use for me anyway. So having your guru in that loop will tell you, like for instance, if the beginner students watch Thai's performance and try to mimic it, it's just absolutely not possible because there is so much skill, so much thought process, and so many subtle aspects that she has developed over years and years of training and her own thought process as a performer. So that's why we have that hierarchy of, okay, as a beginner you learn hastak, you learn footwork, then you go about learning more and more complicated pieces. So yes, it will be there. It won't make it flat because capabilities to learn will still stay the same.
But then will the term will be preserving it? Because Thai has some information which is, we call that preserved information. She'll open it as per our capability. But then the information in the data that is stored is not like that. It's open to all, even outside the capability. So will the term be the same, or you think it's still transactional because we don't know what the scale is yet?
So in terms of that, what I think is Thai's point of view to keep it hidden is because our brains have not developed that much. So again, going back to my point that even if it is all out there, my brain doesn't have the capacity to assimilate it, to make sense out of it. And the reason she keeps it hidden is learning is a process. You need to slowly develop your skill. So information, yes, it will be present, but well, I need my guru to teach me that. And of course, if you really want to keep it hidden for the sake of keeping it hidden, that's also an option, that there's a way to, it's like parental control, you can keep certain parts which will slowly be introduced. And that's something that can come as a part of an educational tool.
I would also like to add one example to this conversation to probably explain my thinking behind it. I'll take YouTube as an example in terms of performing arts. So YouTube has been around for 10-15 years now, and more artists have been posting their videos on YouTube. So much so that all senior level artists joke about it, saying that आजकल तो YouTube ही एक घराना बन गया है और YouTube पे देख के लोग सीख रहे हैं कथक. But we have spent enough time with YouTube and also joking about it. But we still don't have even a single artist who has made name and fame from learning from YouTube. And I think that is very concurrent with what you said, that everything is out there, but that process and capability makes the difference. So that's why I think there isn't much to worry about.
Yeah. There is no threat in that.
I had a question coming from a perspective of a skeptic more than anything else. So, and especially as a student, and the stances, like as you pointed out, this is one of the most human parts of my week, to be honest. Like, it's the one time when I'm talking to other people, it's not about technology. Like, one of the things we know is that, like, we learn how to find what is good art before we learn good art. Like, we can tell what is good even before we learn it. So even when it comes to abhyas, even when it comes to all these examples we thought about in terms of learning and pedagogy, what AI can do there, isn't it so much easier for us to just work with our own classmates, right? Instead of thinking about these very complicated pieces of tech that will be hyper specialized for one specific task, and isn't it better to just, when you do it with your friend, not only is your friend learning how to spot the mistakes that you're making, but also you're learning, the positive feedback loop over there is much stronger, right?
But then I'll yell at you and I'll say that why did you listen to her? She is learning with you. She just knows as much as you. So you need an authority to tell you what is right from wrong. But you just don't need any kind of a feedback. Feedback can be right or wrong, but you need an authoritative feedback, which in all likeliness will be more right than wrong.
That's right, yeah.
I was going to just point to that. That's very good point. And I think whenever I, kind of participate in AI panels, that's like the one thing. Why are you making me more reliant on technology and making me a more isolated individual now that I'm surrounded and I get everything sitting at a computer? Why would I want to go talk to another human being? But it's a human nature to want to go and talk to another human being and brush off ideas, of like just talk to them, brainstorm ideas with them. But when it comes to this particular aspect, like I said, it's a good idea to brainstorm with your friends, but no one's stopping you from doing that. You can still keep doing that. This is just an additional medium to boost creativity, to boost your skill level with a reliable source. And again, that's reliable how? By good experts who are putting in information, and at the end of the day, it's information. So that feedback starts with Tai and hierarchy, followed by the tool who's taking information from Tai, and then friends.
I'll also give one example which I have given so many times. Like there are so many Lehra and Theka apps available, right? But I say use Nagma Live and don't use Sarangi. Use only Sitar and use these three Lehras because they are aesthetically good Lehras, right? So I think this is a good example of how it can be, an expert can help you, right? And so there are a lot of pointers behind it, like why not use Sarangi, why use Sitar, why not this app, why this app. I can explain it for an hour together, but I'm just kind of inferencing it in 3 sentences and telling you what to do. Do this, don't do this.
And there is a value to getting that feedback from her, because, for instance, if Tai puts in that Nagma Live is important, I put in Sarangi is important, and so many others. If you look at just AI, you're going to be biased by the fact thinking that Sarangi is right, because, again, treating it as a source of information. But feedback, or if you want to know what you're doing is right in terms of performing arts, or I think in terms of any kind of tech, you need to consult with the expert.
Also, just to add to the example that I just gave, you'll find so many videos of advanced level dancers dancing to the same Sarangi Lehra, which I stop you from using. But then the reason behind it is that you are still not at a level where you can dance with a Sarangi Lehra. You'll get there one day, but today you need strokes in your Lehra to keep track of Lay, and that is the reason why. So we were talking about layers, and I think this is one good example of layers, that layers will be there. And if you skip a few steps, then you're more likely to fail than succeed.
Yeah, and I think this is also a good example of the biases, and sometimes it's favored, because in this case we'll be biased more towards Banaras Gharana, right? Anything like you mentioned, elbows positions are different per Gharana. So one Gharana will have correct you differently than another, a subject matter expert from another Gharana.
Yeah, and I also think that now this is digressing in a different direction, but I still want to say it, that learning one Gharana as your foundation, or learning one Gharana completely, I would say, always helps you to get more and more flexible in your mind and body to absorb other Gharanas. It's like learning, it's like your mother tongue. You are able to speak other languages, but your mother tongue makes the foundation of any sort of verbal communication that you have. So it's just similar to that. And that's why, like, we have Gurukul Kathak retreat starting next week. Aditi Mangaldas ji will be coming in. She is a Lucknow Gharana exponent, but she has evolved in her own direction. So her trajectory, it's so different than many other Lucknow Gharana dancers, right? But when I dance in her workshop, I am going to set aside my training and try to emulate her. But because I have a very strong foundation of my own Banaras Gharana, which is my idiom, let's say, I'm also going to return to my Gharana, to my Sthai Bhav, my Dharma, after spending those 5 or 6 days with her. And then how will it enrich me? Just the way how I enrich from learning a foreign language. It opens my mind to different literature, different poetry, different ways of thinking. It's just like that.
Or someone lectures you.
Yeah.
Okay, we can take just one more question because it's almost 9 o'clock. Online? Okay, let's take it.
Some Medha wanted to speak with the question. Too long.
Okay, let's ask him to just have
Namaskar Tai आणि namaskar everyone on the panel. Tai, thank you so much for bringing this subject to all of us. I particularly appreciate it as a beginner level Kathak student, and also having a little disability in terms of my eyes. I wanted to point this out that I've been diagnosed with the glaucoma about 22 years ago. I lost my left eye. I can't see anything by left eye. With my right eye, I got only 5% of vision. So my day-to-day activity, I tend to use a lot of voice commands to get my jobs done every day. So whether I'm sending text messages or whether I'm sending voice messages to Tai or whatever that happens to be. So yes, AI has evolved and AI is helping a lot of people like me. But in terms of when Tai said that for the beginner level students, whether we can have a mirror and we can have a technology which tells them about the angle of the hand or a feet movement or the chakra spin and the speed of that, I don't think even if that technology comes up, a beginner student like me would prefer to use that technology because the emotional attachment and the communication which happens through the guru, it can't be replaced with this modern day AI. I'm not against modern day AI because I'm using it for my day-to-day life. So I'm not being hypocrite here, but I'm just saying that in terms of the Kathak and the AI, I don't think anybody in the world can replace guru. Full stop. I don't think AI can do that. The reason I say that because recently I had opportunity to travel to New Zealand with Tai and Manisha Tai, and my personal experience on that trip was in Wellington. Manisha Tai performed this amazing bhajan, Lord Krishna and Vitthal bhajan, and I watched that bhajan from the first row, and I was absolutely crying, man. I'm a wuss by nature anyway, so I cry on anything. But that bhajan particularly was an absolute example that no matter what happens in the world, the technology or whatever, I after finishing the show, I went on the backstage and I said to Manisha Tai that देव म्हणजे काय असतं तुम्ही तो साक्षात देव त्या स्टेजवर उभा केला होता आणि to experience that needs a connection of guru's blessings and guru's advice, and no matter how many algorithms and how many permutation and combinations we do, I don't think we can ever get to that state to replace that knowledge and the communication from your guru to your shishya. And I think that's an example of SISK and Manisha Tai and all of us. Like, we are so lucky to be in part of that family to experience that. So Tai, thank you for bringing this subject up of AI, but I don't think anything in the world can replace that. I'm sorry. I disagree with this Kathak bringing AI into the Kathak life. So I'm sorry to say that, but that's how it is.
I think we all three of us also agree, even if we are on this side right now giving answers to these questions, that we absolutely, the one takeaway that at least when I was prepping for this topic or thinking about this topic was to make sure that I'm putting this clear crystal forward that this entire conversation of bringing new tech or bringing AI, which is another form of tech, into dance or into a performing art is to not replace a guru. It is to, or even the guru shishya interaction, because I think there is a lot of things that we are learning in addition to dance with an interacting or with a simple conversation with our guru. So there is no replacing that. But can we do something about self-learning? Now that's debatable.
Definitely. And I'm so glad that none of you have even slightly insinuated that guru can be replaced. And so we are all on the same page here, that we need that figure in front of us to teach us how to dance, to help us understand what's right and wrong and how we can progress better and faster. So, and that's why I always say Shri Gurubhyo Namaha when I start anything or any session, because that is the guiding force that we always need in our life. This can easily go on for an hour, but I would request if we have any more questions, we please talk to them later, because it's almost 9 o'clock and we need to wind up. Also, it would be a great idea to share your conversation, maybe ask AI to summarize it, and then put it on SISK students group for everybody to learn from it.
I wrote down my question.
Oh, but I mean, we have to stop. It's 9. It's 5 minutes to 9. So I'm so sorry, but we are bound by time. It's already very late. Thank you very much. I was so excited about this session, and I learned so much new today. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a very enthusiastic audience. All these 4 days have been extremely insightful, and I think today's session was cherry on top. So with this, we conclude summer lecture series of this year. We have a few things to look forward to. We have Gurukul Kathak retreat starting on Tuesday next week. Although you are not able to sign up for the retreat, all students are most welcome to drive to San Rafael over the weekend and maybe observe a session or two. That is always an option. That is the privilege that you get for being a part of SISK. Then after that, on 30th, Aditi Mangaldas ji will be doing an exclusive session here, and we are also going to do a curtain raiser, Amala Surabhi, and I'll also dance a little in that. Tickets are really selling fast. I want all my students to be in the audience. I don't care if anybody else attends from outside, but do not miss it for anything in life. So buy your ticket tonight. Other than that, in September and October, we are also bringing more activities to the studio, an Abhinay workshop for advanced level students, a couple of performances in Kathak and Bharatanatyam. So there is a lot to look forward to, and I'll keep posting it from time to time, but for now, let there be some suspense. Thank you, all three of you, for coming here and sharing your knowledge with us. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks to the audience. Good night. Shubharatri.